Good afternoon, members of the media, wider listening audience of Trinidad and Tobago. I'm pleased to welcome you to this afternoon's post-cabinet media conference, and we have with us today the Honourable Prime Minister, who will be the sole speaker today. And at this stage, he's here to address a particular issue, so I'd like to invite the Honourable Prime Minister to come to the podium.
Good afternoon to you members of the media. Good afternoon to members of the national community who will be following our program here. Today is a little different, and I would want you to understand that I am very reluctantly engaging in this conference, but it's very necessary that I do that. So at the end of it, I would only take questions specific to the subject, and I would not be engaging in any wide-ranging press conference as such as we normally would. It was not my intention to be here today. Actually, we had some other matters which we wanted to raise with you, but given the nature of matters which have been put before the public, I, as Prime Minister, feel duty-bound to clarify for the public what has happened yesterday. Let me begin by giving the assurance to members of the national community that as Prime Minister, I conduct the affairs of this office fully cognizant of the requirements of our Constitution. Against that background, I can tell you I am required by the Constitution to meet with the President and to keep the President advised as to the state of play with respect to the governance of Trinidad and Tobago. I do so on a regular basis. And of course, if the President requires my presence, he would so request. This has been the way I have conducted this office for the year that I've been in charge of the affairs of state. My last meeting with the President in this series of regular meetings was on August 24th. On Monday, the 5th of September, just about 9:30 in the morning, I was in Tobago, and I received a call from the Minister of National Security telling me that he had tried to see me here in this office. Discovering that I was in Tobago, he called me to tell me that he was requested to attend upon the President. That was the first time I knew of any requirement or any intention of the President to speak with the Minister of National Security. I was surprised, and in expressing that surprise to the Minister, I asked the Minister, what is this about? The Minister indicated to me that he did not know and was not in a position to tell me anything other than the President has asked to see him. I then thought that it might be something personal or something to do with his family or his immediate security and so on. And I said to the Minister, well then, find out. And that was the end of the conversation I had with the Minister on the 5th of September. The Minister left the country without communicating with me the following morning very early, because by prior arrangement he was going abroad. He did not return to the country until the following Monday, and I would have seen him immediately after that. So there was no contact between me and the minister other than that contact I just mentioned. The Sunday after the conversation with the minister, I picked up the newspapers and discovered that there was a major national security meeting between the Chief of Defense Staff, the Minister of National Security, the Commissioner of Police, and this meeting was chaired by the President, His Excellency the President. I was alarmed. I was concerned. I did nothing, I said nothing, because the minister was out of the country and probably would not have wanted to communicate with me other than face-to-face on this development. I came to the office of the Prime Minister to meet in the office considerable documentation relating to this meeting. A 30-point document covering virtually every area of national security, and a covering letter of correspondence addressed to me and signed by His Excellency on this development. The letter from His Excellency to me contained a phrase that had me very concerned. And the phrase was that he had the consent of the attendees to tell me what happened at this meeting. As Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, I did not want to rely only on my interpretation of these developments. I sought the advice of senior counsel with respect to the line of reporting and communication between Minister, Prime Minister, and President on this specific matter, and the normal course of it. Senior counsel received all the documentation that I had in my possession on the matter, and senior counsel reported back to me that my concerns were well-founded. I then, through the head of the public service, would have transmitted to the President correspondence of my views on this development. That is the sum total of my involvement in this matter with the President. I summarize, contrary to what has been said, there are two things I have to address. One, that I approved, not once, not twice, but 3 times, meetings between the National Security Minister and the President. For the record, I was unaware of any such development, and it's against that background when the minister told me that he was summoned by the President, I asked him immediately, what is this about? The minister could not tell me, and that was my concern. There's a second allegation being made against me, and that is that I have leaked irresponsibly or recklessly confidential, classified correspondence from the President to me. I have done no such thing. In fact, I do not know of any publication in the public domain of the documentation that the President has sent to me. Because if you in the media have this document, which is the President's letter to me, you would be very incompetent if you had not noticed that in the document, it speaks of the very important consideration of consent required by the President for the provisions of the secret meeting to be made available to me. Because that is in this document, that the President sought the consent of those who participated in the meeting to advise me as head of the executive of this country, who chairs the National Security Council meeting, and who is Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and who would, by consent of persons meeting in a secret meeting, would find out what went on in that meeting. So I am led to believe that this document has not been in the public domain. And had the accompanying documents being in the public domain, you would have in your possession somewhere the 30-point issues dealt with in the 3-hour meeting. I have not seen that in the public domain. So I do not come to the conclusion that it's out there. And therefore, I deny that I have leaked any such document coming from His Excellency the President. And that being the case, when I received the advice from Senior Counsel, and given what this matter represents, and given how it has developed, I reported to the Cabinet, and I advised the Cabinet of the advice that I got. And the Cabinet was told or reaffirmed the requirements of the Constitution as it relates to ministers reporting to the Prime Minister and or to the President. And that is the involvement of my government and myself and my office in this matter. I watched certain things developing, and most of it developed in the public domain. Whatever transpired between the Office of the Prime Minister through the Public Service and the Office of the President remain on the record as part of public administration. However, as the press, in doing its job, inexorably heading towards certain investigations and certain answers being sought, members of the media, and you would know who you are, would have sought, by way of text messages in particular, to get comments from me as Prime Minister on the carryings on and the accusations and the allegations being made about matters at the President's household. I have studiously not replied to those text messages. I have studiously made no comment on those matters to anybody in the media, and I have kept myself and my office away from those developments. And that is why, having not seen the President's press conference yesterday in its totality, because I broke off halfway through the presentation, when I was first contacted by the press for a comment on the President's statement, regardless of what it was, even though I had not seen it or heard it in totality, my first comment to the media was, I do not wish to make any comment on the President's statement. But having seen, or having been told last night what was said in the press conference, I realized that I owe the public a duty of response, and having seen what has been published in today's papers, it would be remiss of me not to advise the public of the facts of this situation as known to me and as supported by the documentation in my possession. I do not wish to drag this matter on. I do not wish to engage in any banter with the President. I simply want to put on record my knowledge of this matter and what the documentation contains. If this documentation was made available to you, you would have seen that nowhere in the epistle that was sent to me from President House was there any reference of any prior approval for what was coming to me. And in fact, you would have seen other things which you have not seen at this point in time and which you will not see because I will not make it available to you. I'm sure that you may have a question or two to ask me. I hold myself open to that, specific to this matter. I am not receiving any question on any other matter at this point in time.
Prime Minister, there is an apparent statesman issue that has to be addressed because...
Question, please, sir. Is there a question for me?
Are you satisfied with the Minister of National Security not communicating with you on such an important and vital matter?
I didn't tell you he didn't communicate with me.
No, you said he did not. That's what you said.
I
you
said
he left the country.
And if you had listened to me,
I listened to you.
Mr. Amar, I'm not quarreling with you.
Neither am I.
Let me repeat what I said. And I said so in front of the media. I said the minister was due to, and he left the country the next morning and did not communicate with me because he didn't want to talk to me on the phone. He preferred to speak to me face to face. I said all of that. Maybe you didn't hear it.
But Prime Minister, don't you accept that this is a very vital breach of the Constitution in that as the minister, he is aware that he is not supposed, without your consent, to have any kind of detailed dialogue with the president?
You may not have heard what I have said.
All right, Prime.
I said when he told me he was summoned by the president, I asked him what it was about. He said he did not know. I then told him, well, find out. In finding out, there were other developments which I will not speak to. But I read in the newspaper that the invitation by the president included a request to bring with him certain officers, his advisors. I simply say to you today, I am speaking to you about my involvement in the matter because the allegations made by His Excellency the President are two. One, that he had prior approval from me on the matter. I have said to you that is not so. And two, that I leak confidential documents, that is not so. And I said to you early on, that is why I am here today, to deal with that. Just to put on the record the facts as known to me. And of course, at the first opportunity, the minister gave me a written statement as to what took place at President's house. That did happen. Okay?
But I just want to pick up on what Mr. Amar said, in that there is a gap in the information in terms of what the president told the minister when the invitation or the request was extended to him to have the meeting. We are not aware of what was the conversation between the president and the minister, and to what degree the minister knew what the details of the meeting were going to be, and whether there were implications for attending such a meeting. I also think too that the minister, I'd like to ask the minister, the president said he sought, and you pointed out that paragraph, he sought the consent of the attending parties. If the minister is here, can he tell
The minister is here. You can
what
put a question to the minister. That's why he's here.
seek your consent before writing the documents that he delivered to the Prime Minister? And what exactly did the President tell you before the meeting about what the meeting was going to be?
Pleasant good afternoon to the media and to the listening public of Trinidad and Tobago. Let me answer your question by putting things into context. On the 26th of August 2016, my secretary at the Ministry of National Security got a call from the President's office, His Excellency the President's secretary, requesting my presence at the meeting on the 30th of August. My secretary indicated to the President's house that I was not available on that date because I had National Security Council scheduled around the same time. On Friday, the 2nd of October, of September, sorry, of 2nd of September, communications between the President's House and my secretary requested that the meeting be scheduled for Monday the 5th. At that time, my secretary inquired as to what was the nature of the meeting. And she was told that it was basically security related. Those were the words that was used. I was also told that I should bring my advisor with me at the meeting. It was on Friday the 2nd. On Monday the 5th of September, I came to the office of the Prime Minister to see the Prime Minister on a face-to-face. He wasn't available, and I therefore called him by telephone. I spoke to the Prime Minister and indicated to him that I was requested to have a meeting with the President, His Excellency the President, at 12:30 on the very same day as Monday the 5th. The Prime Minister was concerned in my response to him. He was concerned as to what was the nature of the meeting. I indicated to the Prime Minister I was not aware as to what is the nature of the meeting. And he said to me to go ahead and listen to what the President has to say. And I attended the meeting. Before that, over the weekend, I had indicated to the Chief of Defense Staff and the Commissioner of Police that they should be prepared to accompany me at the meeting at the President. I attended the meeting at the President's House at 12:30 on Monday the 5th. The meeting lasted for about 3 hours, and we dealt with several issues.
Was your consent sought?
Let me just intervene here. All of this of requests for meeting and postponement of date and all of that, and the presence of officers of the Chief of Defense Staff and Commissioner of Police, all of this was not known to me.
That is correct.
Until I read the papers after.
Yes.
Okay?
And that is correct.
So that's the background against which the allegations made against me has to be taken. I found out that there was a request for the minister and advisors in the newspaper when it came out in the paper. Okay? Carry on.
Your consent sought by the President.
And another thing, I don't want to, now that you have put the question to the minister, I don't want us to confuse. My saying to the minister, okay, find out. If he has requested your presence, and find out. That in no way crosses a bridge to me granting approval on 3 occasions for a national security meeting to take place between those who took that decision and those who were at the meeting. They're 2 completely separate things.
I have 2 questions. One for you and one for you. Well, the minister hasn't yet answered whether the President sought his consent before penning the details of the meeting to the Prime Minister.
Oh, you mean the consent to communicate with me?
Yes.
Oh, I couldn't speak to that. I wasn't there.
Yeah. The President said that
Well, the letter said so.
that he sought the consent of attending parties. So I wanted to know if the minister can in fact confirm that that was done.
The President indicated that he was going to send a copy of the meeting to the Prime Minister, the notes of the meeting to the Prime Minister. And
One other question. If the reporting to the President as outlined in the advice given by senior counsel, that did you not feel that the President ought to have arranged the meeting through yourself? In other words, when the minister told you that there was this meeting that he was called to at the President's house, did you not think that the constitutional boundaries were already being breached when the President sought directly to communicate to the minister rather than to have you tell the minister, go and see the President on my...
Well, understand what I said. When the minister told me that the President sought his attendance, I could not have imagined that it had to do with a full-fledged national security meeting being chaired by the President. I assumed that it had to be something personal or private or immediate. The President has a family, he has children, he has a wife, he has whatever. I don't know. And that's why I said to the minister, what is it about? And since he couldn't tell me, I assumed that it was something along that line, and that's why I said to the minister, go and find out. And if that is what is being interpreted as license to conduct a national security meeting and generate a 30-point national security document, then I beg to differ. But more importantly, that was the only instance in which any reference could be made to approval or non-approval, because I know of no prior instance where I would have given any clearance, not once, not twice or 3 times, for a national security meeting involving the Chief of Defense Staff, the Commissioner of Police, and the National Security Minister. The first time I would have seen any such thing, as I said before, this alarming development is when I read the newspapers. And I awaited the Minister of National Security telling me face to face what went on there. The minister having been out of the country, I waited until he got back. In the meantime, I received a document from the president on the matter. And then it became clear to me what had transpired. And I proceeded to get advice as to how I should view what had transpired. Because I had my own opinion, but I did not want to be guided by my own opinion. I wanted to be guided by the opinion of learned senior counsel.
Prime Minister, given the fact that you told the Minister of National Security to find out what it was about, in the interim, he met with the President. Do you believe that the Minister was out of line?
No, I don't believe so.
Measures can they be expected?
No, I do not believe that the minister did anything out of line. I could find out that you are in this room, but I don't mean to throw you out or to kill you.
Okay, another question is, given the fact that we have 2 of the most senior statesmen, as it were, in the country, saying completely different things, who's the public to believe? And how
That is entirely, that question I would leave that entirely up to the citizens who would have heard from him and from me. And my response today is based on the documentation and the witness.
Do you see any further need to defend the opposition or support?
I have said all that I intend to say on this matter.
Prime Minister, when next do you expect that you'll meet with the President?
I don't know, but I intend to discharge my responsibility under the Constitution. Thank you very much.